100% false. Overnight, the DOJ firing back over an explosive interview undermining Democrats' claims that the Trump administration was secretly monitoring the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. The scheme now at the center of impeachment.
Griff Jenkins is live in Washington as articles will be exhibited today, setting the stage for the trial. Griff.
That's right, Rob, Julian. Good morning. The Senate's taken over the exhibition of those articles at noon today, followed by the swearing in of Chief Justice Roberts and senators at 2 p.m., teeing up opening arguments on Tuesday, and Democrats are feeling emboldened by new evidence.
If the Senate doesn't permit the introduction of all relevant witnesses and of all documents that the House wants to introduce, then the Senate is engaging in an unconstitutional and disgusting cover-up. The Senate is on trial as well as the president.
This as the indicted associate of President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, makes explosive claims.
President Trump knew exactly what was going on. He was aware of all of my movements. I wouldn't do anything without the consent of Rudy Giuliani or the president. I have no intent, I have no reason to speak to any of these officials.
Lev Parnas also claiming Attorney General Barr was part of the team trying to pressure the Ukrainians to investigate the Biden's Justice Department, smacking that down, saying that's 100% false. But Parnas also pouring cold water on claims that the former ambassador to Ukraine, Yovanovitch, was surveilled by a backer of the president.
Well, I don't believe it's true. I think he was either drunk or he's was trying to make himself bigger than it was. So I didn't take it seriously. He wakes up and he's drunk. He starts at 6. And, I've never seen him not drunk.
Ahead of the trial, the president tweeting this. Here we go again. Another con job by the do-nothing Democrats. All of this work was supposed to be done by the House, not the Senate. Now, as things get underway, it will be all eyes on Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who is not committed one way or another to whether there will be any calling of witnesses or allowing of additional documents. Rob, Julian?
All right. Thank you very much, Griff. We're going to have more on this in the next few minutes.
Yeah. And now that those articles are finally in the Senate's hands, Republicans say the trial process will be much different.
Senate Judiciary Committee member John Kennedy says he intends to treat both sides fairly during a trial, unlike the House proceedings.
I think the Senate is going to have something to say about this. You don't have to be Mensa material, Tucker, to see that Speaker Pelosi is swollen with partisan rage. And the whole process in the House was rigged. We're going to do it differently in the Senate. We're going to treat both sides fairly. As I said the other day, when we're done, I don't want the American people to look at the Senate's work and say, well, we just got run over by the same truck twice. It was unfair in the House and it was unfair in the Senate. I want people to walk away and say, look, the Senate was fair. They did it right. They gave equal time to both sides, and we understand the allegations, and the Senate voted. And that's what we're going to try to do.
And as it stands, the trial is set to begin next Tuesday.
The Trump administration abruptly canceled several classified briefings on embassy security and the crisis with Iran. It comes as the Iranian president issues a stark warning to American and foreign troops in the Middle East over the crumbling nuclear deal.
Today, the American soldier is in danger. Tomorrow, the European soldier could be in danger.
Federal judge temporarily blocks President Trump's executive order on refugee resettlement. It would have given state and local officials the power to opt out of accepting refugees. Critics called it unconstitutional. The government is expected to appeal. President Trump recently announced the U.S. would only accept 18,000 refugees this fiscal year. That is nearly 100,000 less than President Obama's cap in 2016. The sanctuary city battle heating up in Denver. ICE officials issuing a subpoena to the city's law enforcement for the first time ever. They are seeking information on 4 illegal immigrants wanted for deportation. The agency typically sends subpoenas on immigration-related cases to employers or landlords. ICE says they could take the subpoena to a federal judge if they don't comply. Denver officials claim that they have been cooperative.
A tense exchange between Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. CNN releasing audio of the presidential hopefuls spatting after Tuesday's Democratic debate.
That's right. Aisha Hasni joins us live with what sparked that post-debate tension. Aisha, good morning.
Good morning. So it's only a 15-second exchange, guys, but it might have just changed the course for Democrats in this election. Let's watch it together.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called me, you told me. All right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get in the middle of it. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Ooh, okay. A lot of stuff going on right there. So that tense moment actually happened after the Democratic debate, where Bernie Sanders was asked about Elizabeth Warren's accusation that in 2018, he privately told her a woman cannot win the election. Sanders flatly denied it, with Warren pushing back.
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it. Anybody knows me, knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States.
I disagreed. Bernie is my friend, and I am not here to try to fight with Bernie. But look, this question about whether or not a woman can be president has been raised, and it's time for us to attack it head on.
Yeah, they're trying not to fight, but the two rivals, they were supposed to stay friendly and keep those left-wing progressives united through the election. They may just have unraveled that plan. Both candidates' supporters have been hurling insults online, and now some progressive leaders fear the animosity will only help a moderate like Joe Biden, who is already leading the national polls. Now, neither the Sanders or Warren camp has commented about that spat that happened after the debate, but they could run into each other on Friday when the Senate is back in session, so we'll all be watching them very closely. Rob,
Yes,
Joey?
we will. Everyone wanted to know, and now we do.
And then there's Tom Steyer.
Right.
trying to get that. And Bernie's like, yeah, get away from me.
Hi, guys.
That was the best part. Aisha, thanks so much.
Thank
All right,
you.
your thoughts pouring in on this one online. John on Facebook says, we know both are liars.
Victor on Instagram writes, the Democrats are falling apart.
Dan tweeted, wow, that party is already self-destructing and there is 11 months to go. There you have it.
All right. It is just about 10 minutes after the hour. Impeachment-happy Democrats thought they had a bombshell with a last-minute document dump from Lev Parnas, but his new interview is raising all sorts of new questions. Former senior Senate advisor Jamil Jaffer joins us live with why the primetime tell-all may have just undercut the left's case.
And get your heart pumping. A new study shows heading to the...
What was he trying to tell you?
Well, I don't believe it's true. I think he was either drunk or he's was trying to make himself bigger than it was. So I didn't take it seriously. He's drunk all the whole time. he wakes up and he's drunk.
You didn't believe he actually had the ambassador under surveillance?
No, absolutely not.
All right, a Fox News alert. Former Giuliani associate Lev Parnas making some potentially explosive claims on the eve of the official transfer of impeachment articles.
So what did we learn, and how could this impact the case on either side? Former chief counsel and senior advisor for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Jamil Jaffer, joins us live. Jamil, good to see you this morning. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Robin, Jillian.
So, you know, and we'll get into it, there are things that look bad for both sides here. Let's start with these text messages, and we can pull them up on screen so you can read them here at home. These messages are between Rob Hyde, who is a prominent GOP donor, and Lev Parnas. And you can see here, Hyde says she's next to the embassy, not in the embassy. Private security, been there since Thursday. And you can see Lev Parnas then says, interesting. What do you make between this exchange?
Yeah, I mean, what's weird about it is that Rob Hyde at least appears to know where Ambassador Yovanovitch is, what she's doing. There's some discussion about whether her computer is on or not. Unclear how we would know whether her computer is on, whether she's using her phone, whether she has private security. Is she in the embassy? Is she not? And Parnas, you know, on his interview said, look, I didn't really pay attention to that. The guy's drinking all the time, and I wasn't really responding, but of course he was responding occasionally. So it's not clear where was Hyde getting this information from. You know, presumably he wasn't just sitting in a bar, you know, making this stuff up. Right. So, you know, it's definitely an odd, you know, back and forth. And you don't see Parnas saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You know, don't follow her.
So the tracking of the ambassador might lack credibility. Let's go to another part of this interview, though. Let's hear from Lev Parnas.
President Trump knew exactly what was going on. He was aware of all of my movements. I wouldn't do anything without the consent of Rudy Giuliani or the president. I have no intent, I have no reason to speak to any of these officials.
So what he did last night that the Democrats are going to go nuts for is he connected Rudy Giuliani with the president. He also implicates Mike Pence. He implicates Bill Barr. If you're trying to defend the president, how do you defend against that statement?
Well, the president, Rudy Giuliani does a lot of things that the president may or may not be aware of. Now, Giuliani and the president are close. They talk a lot. It wouldn't be surprising if the president knew what Giuliani knew, and it wouldn't be surprising if Giuliani knew what Parnas was doing. But the real question is specifically to what end, right? What was the purpose of this happening? Why was Parnas there? What was Giuliani telling him? The president's case essentially is, look, yes, I told Zelensky that I wanted him to do some investigations, but it was about corruption, just like what Biden did was about corruption, allegedly, right? Biden made the claims about corruption, so am I, right? And
so his best defense is to say, I truly believe that there's corruption here and we need to root it out, and that's why I sent this team over there to figure this out.
Right. That's the debate, right? The fundamental debated issue is not, was there a question about should you get this, should you get that? The question was, what does it all mean? And does it matter? And is it impeachable? And as we know, there is no law around impeachment. It's just a political decision by the House and the Senate. And here we are. And it's clear that today, at least as of today, the Democrats don't have the evidence that would cause Republicans in the Senate to vote for impeachment enough to get a two-thirds majority such that the president would be removed. And so the question is, what other stuff can they drum up between now and then? And what will be allowed to be introduced at the Senate trial based on this discussion about votes on witnesses and the like that would, swing the votes of the Senate? Because right now, it doesn't look like the Senate's going to convict.
Well, people also arguing the timing of this. We will see what else comes about, and we will have it all covered. In the meantime, let's talk about impeachment and the managers that have been named. And at the top of the list, the lead manager, Adam Schiff. What do you think about this grouping? What do you know about them?
Well, look, we've got 7 impeachment managers, 6 of whom are lawyers. The other one is a member of Congress who was a longtime police officer in Florida and the first African American police chief. So obviously a group of impeachment managers with a lot of experience, a very diverse crew.
The impeachment hoax. It's the greatest
prosecution
hoax.
experience with Adam Schiff with 6 years of federal prosecution experience, and Hakeem Jeffries and one of the other members of Congress who are longtime private sector litigators. So a lot of litigation experience, too.
Okay. Jamil, thanks so much. We appreciate your time this morning.
Have a good day.
Really appreciate it. Right. You too.
It is 18 minutes after the hour.
Which is a very big deal in Australia.
But through the tragedy, signs of hope as American firefighters take the front lines to help battle the fires, just like the Australians did for them during the devastation in California.
Yeah, former Fox and Friends weekend host Anna Koyman joins us live from the New South Wales Emergency Operations Center this morning. Anna.
Well, Jillian and Rob, Australia and New Zealand sent over nearly 140 wildfire personnel during those 2018 devastating wildfires we did have in Northern California. And now the United States is returning the favor. More than 150 firefighters have flown all the way over to Australia to help battle the flames. They are mostly filling roles in management and strategy and also aviation. Let's hear from a couple of them.
Welcome back. The Delta Airlines flight did not ask permission before it dumped jet fuel all over dozens of...
Pilot didn't think the emergency procedure was necessary at first. Todd.
Jillian and Rob, good morning to both of you. Those pilots failing to dump the fuel at a standard altitude, thereby preventing the fuel from atomizing properly, which if it did would have meant the liquid wouldn't have been falling upon kids on the ground. In a statement, the agency writing, the FAA is thoroughly investigating the circumstances behind today's incident. There are special fuel dumping procedures. These procedures call for fuel to be dumped over designated, unpopulated areas, typically at higher altitudes. All this
on the pilot side, he did the right thing. If that airplane crashed as a result of a mechanical problem and 200 plus people were killed, they would say, well, why didn't the pilot dump fuel and land the plane quickly?
Delta sent 13 cleaning crews to the school, a school spokesperson adding that all exterior surfaces have been cleaned and that there is no further exposure. But obviously, a lot of people talking about this, guys.
Oh, yeah. Everyone saw that video.
Yeah, Todd, thanks.
No problem.
New evidence will be revealed today in the unsolved Gilgo Beach murders. 10 bodies were found. Police attorney Michael Avenatti facing new legal problems coast to coast. In California, a judge just revoked bail, claiming Avenatti violated terms of his release while awaiting trial in 3 federal crimes cases. That decision forcing a judge in New York to postpone an extortion trial set to begin next week. Avenatti is accused of trying to blackmail Nike into paying him $25 million. He's pleaded not guilty.
The Boston Red Sox asking its fans to reserve judgment until all the facts are out over the sign stealing scandal. It comes after separating from former manager Alex Cora, who was named in an MLB report on his alleged role while coaching for the Houston Astros. Boston, not the only team feeling the heat. The Mets could reportedly fire manager Carlos Beltran for his role in the scandal as well. National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd. Sir, thanks for coming on this morning. You've got Hondurans in Guatemala right now. What is Guatemala's role in this?
So Guatemala is going to allow them to continue to come up. They're supposed to apply for asylum in the first safe country that they come to, which is going to be Guatemala. If Mexico, as they continue to go up, even if they get into Mexico, Mexico is not going to allow them to make it up to our southwest border in a huge caravan. They're going to have to break up. They're going to have to try to get away from the Mexican authorities. Mexico has been doing a great job ever since all these agreements have been made in protecting our southwest border. They've actually been stepping up and they've become a great border security partner.
Talk about the orderly process that's going to be happening now and how this is different from the caravans that we talked a lot about extensively last year.
Now, part of the agreements that we have,
the president is looking to move, what, $7.2 billion from the Pentagon budget to build more of the wall. And I want to ask you, I mean, there's the breakdown of the money. I want to ask you, how will this fare and will this be fought pretty hard? I mean, he's already had success moving some of this money around, right?
Yeah, the Democrats are going to use the same playbook that they've always used. Special interest groups are going to file lawsuits in the lower courts. They're going to try to hold it up as long as they possibly can. They know that they cannot win it once it goes to the higher courts. They know that they're going to lose it, but they're going to try to hold it up as long as they possibly can. The president ultimately is going to win. He's won in every single case that we've had so far. We're going to continue to build the walls. We're going to continue to hold out the criminal aliens. We're going to continue to get a hold on these opioids that are coming into the United States that are killing so many of our children.
All right, Brandon Judd, thanks so much for your inside information. Have a good day.
Always good to be with you.
36 minutes after the hour now, the governor of New Jersey, one of several Democratic leaders looking to hike taxes. We're taking a look at the policies inspiring what our next guest calls a mass exodus out of blue states towards safe haven.
1/53 of California's House delegation is this Intelligence Committee chairman. His name is Adam Schiff.
I mean, how do you not know that face by now? A big blow to Adam Schiff. So you go, the quiz show contestant, or question, I should say, that left its contestants completely stumped. Stay tuned.
A historic day for Wall Street and the White House. The Dow closing above 29,000 after President Trump and China sign a landmark trade agreement, potentially ending a years-long trade war.
Just phase one, but it is a very big deal. A Minnesota soybean farmer who attended the ceremony joined us last hour to explain why the deal was worth waiting for.
That'll help with our markets and get those markets back on that uptick so that when the growers go in for doing their budgets and stuff, we can at least start budgeting a positive budget instead of being in the red.
Under the agreement, China will buy $200 billion more in U.S. goods over 2 years and enforce protections for U.S. intellectual property.
That's a lot of money coming into the U.S. economy. All right, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is trying for a third time to raise taxes on the wealthy in his state, despite a growing trend of Americans fleeing blue states to avoid nonstop tax hikes just like that.
And a millionaire's tax will allow us to ease the property tax burden literally on millions of middle-class families and seniors. The millionaires and corporate CEOs made out just fine in the last recession.
Here with reaction is New Jersey resident and Trump 2020 Advisory Board member Jason Meister. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So what do you think? I mean, people don't want to be taxed anymore. People are getting out.
Yeah, look, this is what New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, California are doing. These blue states, they're taxing high earners. They're chasing job creators out. Last year, New Jersey had the highest amount of outbound migration. At 70% of their migration was outbound to red states like Florida and Texas. So they're losing their high earners. They're losing their tax revenue.
But people like you, I mean, there are people who stay.
Yeah, look, I work in New York City. I can't be in Florida for more than 50% of the year.
Yeah.
But look, it's not just New Jersey. You see over the last 9 years, okay, we lost 1 million residents from New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut.
Well, let's look at the numbers right now.
That's nearly 300 people a day.
Yeah, I mean, here's 2018 to 2019. You've seen California here. Well, here, we're going to give you the tax rates right now. These are the marginal income tax rates and the number of people they're down, how many people they're losing. But look at those states. I mean, look at what you got to pay in California if you're making, a lot of money. 13.3% state on top of your federal. In New York, you're at 8%. And then if you live in New York City, by the way, there's another 3.5 on that. Illinois has got the flatter rate. That's actually fairly easy, but they've got other problems.
It's unbelievable.
It's not surprising when you see Florida has no state income tax.
Right.
Why people are going to want.
And not only that, but it's the cost of living, but it's also the crumbling infrastructure. You're paying all this money, but your airports, your bridges, your roads, your hospitals are all falling apart. So it's a devastating situation. And I think these red states, where all these outbound migrants from the blue states are coming from, they should set up welcome centers and explain to these people why they're leaving these blue states. Don't vote these terrible conditions into our state, and understand why you're leaving those blue states.
Well, let's take a look at some of the other numbers here, and this includes Florida, Texas, and also Arizona, and you can see distinct difference there. I mean, you see that 0% state income tax, as you were just referencing.
Nice.
I mean, it really is crazy when you think about it. And then look at this other number. Americans moving to Florida by day. This is fascinating. 900 plus, meaning they are new Florida residents per day. What do those numbers say to you?
That says no income tax, right? There's no income tax. Yeah. Also, if you look at the local government in New York, they're spending twice as much as the local government in Florida. Right. And part of that is sanctuary city, where New York City is a sanctuary city, so we're paying for illegal aliens, but also the union labor in New York versus Florida. Yeah. You have the 70% of the local New York public workforce is unionized versus Florida, where it's 23%.
It takes 5 years to get anything done here, and it costs a fortune.
A lot, yeah.
And then you also have the cost of living in these cities as well.
Right.
It's not just
also,
all that. Yeah.
You have to look at homelessness, crime rates, all on the rise. So we have an experiment to look at red versus blue states, and the red states are the states that
a lot of factors certainly go into it. Jason, thanks for joining us. Now go back to New Jersey. Just kidding. We love you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, now to this. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sending mixed messages about the impeachment process.
And it will be done in a fair way, in a way that is solemn, prayerful. The solemn act. I solemnly and sadly open the debate on the impeachment of the president.
All right, so if this is so solemn and so serious, why was she smiling for celebratory pictures and handing out commemorative pens? Social media really called this out.
But first, Brian Kilmeade with what's coming up on Fox & Friends. I don't think you got a pen, Brian.
No, but I'm going to go to the White House gift shop, and I'll probably pick one up because they walked them over yesterday. What about that solemn procession across to hand the Senate the articles of impeachment?
It was very somber.
It was unbelievable. I'm still a little depressed by it. Meanwhile, let me tell you what's going to come up. As you heard on Fox & Friends First and Fox & Friends First, we're going to be talking about the impeachment, what it means, what the trial's likely to look like, and what sources are telling us Republicans are going to do in terms of witnesses or not calling those witnesses. White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham about that and the president's legal team and utilization of some House leaders. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, a true Republican superstar, on why she's praising President Trump's trade deal with China at the East Room. I was one of the only people not invited. And what a phase 2 should look like. And basically, what's phase 1? It's 94 pages. And Senator Marsha Blackburn will be here live talking about what the Republicans plan on doing the rest of the way as the USMCA is queued up to be voted on and passed today. Judge Andrew Napolitano is just about out of the shower. He should be here talking about impeachment. And Dana Lash talking about what's going on in Virginia as they try to take their guns away. I urge everyone, pay attention to the last 14 minutes of Rob and Jillian's show. There'll be a quiz, and then, please, get dressed.
I'm concerned why you know exactly where the judge is in his morning routine, Brian.
You know the Ring doorbell? Turn the camera around. I'm watching everything.
Great.
Oh, Brian, that'll wake you up. We'll be right back.
So this is a very serious matter, and we take it to heart in a really solemn way.
All right, so how serious is this? Because Nancy Pelosi's face telling a much different story as she is all smiles for the cameras while signing the articles of impeachment.
It's like that when she shushed everyone. Remember that?
Right.
Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7 Sirius XM 115 here with how social media is reacting to the mixed messages.
Hey, good morning, guys. So they say actions speak louder than words. And while Nancy Pelosi has said she takes no pleasure in impeaching the president, when it came down to signing her name on the dotted line, she smiled for cameras and passed out soon. Happened to being a somber moment. Matthew on Twitter writes, look at that clear grief on her face. And then Vince, clearly a Trump supporter, we will see who gets the last laugh in November. We certainly will. It is common for presidents to pass out pens after they sign major legislation, but a lot of people just pointing out the difference here between Nancy Pelosi showing up in black while she cast her vote to impeach the president and yesterday when she was all smiles.
Okay, so Carly, you and I are in the same camp. I have no idea what this OK Boomer thing is.
Yeah, I didn't either until I read this
people
story.
been for the last,
Do you know?
Yeah, and I don't know anything. I mean, all this new whatever hip phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you and Chief Justice John Roberts both, he's proving to be down with the times because he used the phrase "okay, boomer" during a Supreme Court discussion yesterday. Now, young people use this to sort of poo-poo and ignore what an older person might say to them, like, "Okay, boomer, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm 17 years old. I know the ways of the world." But anyway, he was using it during a discussion about an age discrimination lawsuit, like would somebody win that lawsuit if a younger person said to them at work. So this sparking a lot of chatter on social media just because it was kind of funny that he said it. One person says she is proud to be a boomer. Another person, whatever happened to respecting and honoring one's elders? And lastly, it is ageist, says Tina. She's taken it pretty seriously, but so is all of the stuff going around about millennials. I didn't know the phrase, but now I do. The more you know.
Thank you for that. Okay, so...
Oh, no.